It's like, here's something I don't understand. It could be something I'm curious about. It could be something that's bothering me, but I have a problem. And I also admit that I have the problem, and I presume that there's an answer, and I presume that if I get the answer, that would be good. And then I would say I do something that you could describe. I allow myself to receive a thought. It's something like that. Now, I could say, I think, or I could say, I think something up, but I don't really like that formulation because I don't think it's a good description of actually what happens. What happens is that I posit a problem and answers appear to me.
That's good.
Because this is actually how the God of the Old Testament is characterized, right? Is that he is the commonality of callings. And there's another element too that emerges because it's important. You could think about calling as the manifestation of the positive emotions that pull us forward. That's a reasonable way of thinking about it. But the God in the Old Testament is also characterized as conscience, right? And conscience also has that kind of autonomy, right? Because you call yourself out on your misbehavior. And it's something that in some sense is inescapable. Okay, so the dynamism between calling and conscience is one of the most profound ways that the God of the Old Testament is characterized in the biblical corpus. And it looks to me like it's an attempt to characterize the orienting function of what attracts your attention and what also keeps you on the pathway. Children are really socialized between the age of 2 and 4, right? They're pretty egocentric and temporally bounded at the age of 2. They kind of want whatever their motivational system wants right now, and to hell with the consequences. That's the definition of a 2-year-old. And there's some wonderful things about that. And then as they mature and as their cortex matures, those systems integrate. And if that integration takes place, then you have the presence of a overarching structure that enables that trust to be made manifest. A child will learn to take turns, for example.
That's why I say that free will is an achievement, not a metaphysical endowment. Descartes' big error was in being solitary, trusting to his own mind and trying to get his clear and distinct ideas ever clearer and more distinct. And the only way he could trust them, he thought, is if he posited a benevolent, all-knowing God. We don't need that. What we need is each other. That human trust is the key to civilization and to science, and it's under attack right now with artificial intelligence and misrepresentation. And the technologies of misrepresentation, which are eroding trust in a very serious way.
I've been conceptualizing thought as secularized prayer. And the reason I'm doing that, I suppose to some degree, is anthropological, because I think that prayer preceded thought developmentally. I think that's what the historical evidence would suggest. We haven't been thinking rationally for very long. It's perhaps several thousand years. We've been thinking religiously for much longer than that. And I'm not trying to establish a qualitative primacy here. So the first thing I do when I think is admit that I don't know something. So I come to the process in humility and I admit I have a problem. It's like, here's something I don't understand. It could be something I'm curious about. It could be something that's bothering me, but I have a problem. And I also admit that I have the problem, and I presume that there's an answer, and I presume that if I get the answer, that would be good. What happens is that I posit a problem, and answers appear to me.
That's good. I'm happy with that. It reminds me of Plato in the Theaetetus, where he says knowledge is like the birds in a giant aviary.